the conflict. Well, for more, I'm joined now in the studio by our international affairs editor, Leela Jacinto. Good to have you with us, Leela. Just how serious are these latest tit-for-tat attacks that we've been seeing over the past 24, 48 hours?
Serious, certainly. This deal, which is the formal name is the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding, is supposed to last 60 days, after which we need final deals. So, we have barely reached the second week mark, the 2-week mark, and already we are seeing strains on the deal. Is this a surprise? No, because in the first place, this Memorandum of Understanding is not at all a final deal. It's really much more a statement of ideals. And so this is sort of to be expected. It could well have been foreseen. Is this a deal breaker? Well, that would, of course, depend on how it goes from here. But per se, these violations, often violations on the fringes of a peace deal, does not necessarily mean a collapse of the deal. What has to happen now is a careful re-examination and going back to sort out these differences. Because what we have right now, this deal, which is a 14-point deal, which was signed, if you remember, at the Palace of Versailles, and it's starting to unwind on the vital Strait of Hormuz, which in a way is the first point that needed to be examined, because as we have seen in this war that has lasted more than 3 months now, the Strait of Hormuz is what really blocked the global economy. And so what the public, in addition to negotiators, need to understand is what are the text of the MOU in order to sort of iron out how do we go forward and how do we not return to war.
And what then, Leela, are the main issues that still need to be hammered out in this deal on the way to that final deal?
Very important. And the one good thing about Trump administration deals are they tend to be very short. So this Memorandum of Understanding is just a page and a half. It's not very difficult to read and to pass through. So basically the two sides are engaged in tit-for-tat attacks, and they are trading blame, right? So the U.S. is saying that Iran is in violation of the MOU by attacking a Singapore-flagged commercial vessel. Iran has responded with strikes, as we have seen, strikes on facilities in Bahrain, and Iran claims that the U.S. is in violation. So Iran has really pointed to 2 points of this 14-point deal, okay? The 1 point, and, if we have a graphic of the points, I can explain it to you, or otherwise I can just talk to you. Iran says, basically, the U.S. strikes are in violation of point 1 of the deal. This is just some important bits of the deal that I'd like to highlight because, under point 1, the two sides, that's Iran and the U.S., have agreed to an immediate and permanent termination of military operations and war on all fronts. And this includes to refrain from using the threat of force against each other. So Iran claims that the U.S., by targeting Iran, is directly in violation of this deal. The second point that is important is point 5, which pertains to the Strait of Hormuz. And under the terms of point 5, it says that Iran will make arrangements using its best efforts, important, for the safe passage of commercial vessels. The point goes on, and then it later on says that Iran will conduct dialogue with Oman, which shares a coastal border with the Strait, in order to define the future administration and maritime services of the Strait of Hormuz, right? So, under this deal, now it depends on which party understands it and how. From the U.S. perspective, the Strait of Hormuz and the running of the Strait of Hormuz has to go back to what it was pre-February 28, when the U.S. and Israel launched war on Iran. Iran has got in the text of the MOU the fact that the administration of the Strait of Hormuz, it will discuss with the Sultanate of Oman, so these are 2 countries on either side of this narrow strait, and arrive at an administration procedure. This is after the 60-day period which the MOU covers. So Iran, by targeting a commercial vessel in the 60-day period of the MOU, is in breach. However, the US is also in breach because Iran does not seem to have been consulted on this new route that Oman has offered, which is a route for ships to go very close to the Omani coast so that they can pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this has been done in consultation with a body. It's called the Joint Maritime Information Center, which is a US military, a US naval body. So Iran argues that this was not in consultation and these ships are passing through without its consultation. But primarily, at the heart of this, what needs to be addressed is the fact that this war has sort of changed the equation in this vital waterway that has 1/5 of the world's energy. And from Iran's perspective, the Strait of Hormuz and its geography is its deterrence, not the nuclear program that we all thought it was. And so Iran doesn't see the status quo going back. And if we want to have a free passageway with no tolls, as the international trade understands it, littoral countries, like countries that have these coasts, can charge service fees. So there can be some room for maneuver in this part. But if both parties stick very hard to this, we could well see this peace deal unraveling.
And of course, Leela, there's another element to all this, which of course is Lebanon. The Israeli military conducting airstrikes in southern Lebanon barely 24 hours after Israel and Lebanon jointly signed a framework agreement that was negotiated by the US. Is this agreement dead on arrival? And I'm sorry, we've only got about a minute left, Leela.
Well, quickly, I would say yes. First, among other things, we've had deals like this before, unlike the Iran-US deal, because those two countries have never been at war, so there was no peace deal. So these peace deals have failed. They have failed always on the same points. Very important. It involves the disarmament of Hezbollah, but Hezbollah is not party to this agreement, and Hezbollah today has said that it is not a party to this agreement. 2, it calls for the disarmament of Hezbollah, which we have been hearing for decades, but who's going to do this disarmament? It's the Lebanese armed forces, which is weaker than Hezbollah. Why are the Lebanese armed forces weaker than Hezbollah and not in a capacity to disarm Hezbollah? It's a U.S. law. It's a 2008 U.S. law. The term is called the QME, the Qualitative Military Advantage, which means that U.S. military aid has to ensure that the Israeli army has a qualitative edge over its enemy states. So in a way, the Lebanese armed forces are kept deliberately weak. They are not in a capacity to disarm Hezbollah, and we go back to square one. So this deal, interestingly, is also 14 points. The Trump administration seems to like 14. But the weakness of this deal is what imperils all these deals, is that the stronger party is actually negotiating for an advantage. And so in a way, it's a peace to end the peace instead of a peace that really brings the two sides and has some give and take.
Leela Jacinto, thank you very much.